Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and today we're going to be going over the all-new 2020 Toyota Corolla. Now I know that the Corolla Hatchback has been all the rave, but this is the sedan. I thought I'd go over it, especially since this is the 2020 model year up from the 2019. That all being said, we're gonna do a quick walk around the vehicle, then we're gonna take it out to see how it drives. A big shout out and thank you to Larry H. Miller Toyota here in Murray, Utah for providing us with the vehicle. If you're on the market for new Toyota, check them out. And if you are stopping in for the first time, I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe. Under the hood here of the 2020 Corolla, we have two different engine options. This one has the 2-liter 4-cylinder. You can also get a 1.8-liter 4-cylinder. Now in terms of transmission options, you're gonna get a 6-speed manual or an optional CVT transmission, and then power outputs are going to be 126 horsepower and 139 pound-feet of torque for the 1.8-liter, and then for the 2-liter you're going to be 169 horsepower with 151 pound-feet of torque. And of course I forgot to go over fuel economy. 31 around town, 38 on the highway, which is a lot. So finishing things up front, we have some cool headlight designs, so let's actually pop up a little bit closer. So we've got the cool little LED accent lights with the projector LED light, more accent lighting down below, and then you can see what the turn signal looks like right there. Got the Toyota logo, and then that's not actually light, but it's kind of like a black accent that makes it look like it's continuous, so it looks pretty cool. And then you've got the grille just down below, kind of fake vent thing right there. And then it kind of comes off, looks like a front splitter. It's not really a front splitter, but it looks like it. Overall, I like the design on the front end. Looks actually pretty aggressive. Now around the side here, we have these 18-inch machine alloy finish rims. I think they look really, really good on this car, especially with the red paint that it has. But your 225mm tires, and then they kind of got like a side skirt type deal going on the side. Not really one, but it kind of is. Again, looks cool. Here is the key fob for the 2020 Corolla. You can see we've got a couple functions, lock and unlock, and then you've got your trunk release. So if we hold that down, that'll actually pop open the trunk halfway. Got to use your arm for the rest of the half. And then you can see this actually has a good amount of trunk space, especially since this is like a smaller size car. I'm surprised by just the amount of trunk space that it has back here. And then if we pull up this little carpeting right here, then you can see under here you got your whole like fix-a-flat kit setup and jack and all that. There is not a spare tire in this particular one, and then you can fold down those seats if you want a little bit of extra storage. Now wrapping things up on the back, they've got a little spoiler on the top here. You can see the Toyota logo just right there, Corolla, and then XSE badging, and then they've got kind of like a diffuser type deal going on. Again, not really functional, but it looks cool. And then more fake vents. Looks cool though. Now coming around to the side here, we can look at the door panel here for the rear. Got some nice leather here, blue stitching, which is pretty interesting to contrast with the red paint. And then you can see we've got some black paneling right there. Looking at the seats here in the rear, I actually really like them. So we've got leather on the outside, and then kind of like this cloth mesh insert to break things up. Legroom's actually really good. I have the seat where I would normally sit driving it, and there's plenty of legroom. And then we actually do get this little thing that you can pull out to be a cup holder. And then there's kind of like a storage space. Not exactly sure what that's for though. So we've got keyless entry here, so one touch to lock it, and then to unlock it, you just have to put your hand on the back of the door handle. And we can look at the door panel here for the front. It's pretty much identical to the rear, more of that blue stitching. We've got leather. All of your window controls and mirror controls are right there. Little speaker just down below, some storage space with cup holders. And now we can come to the seats for the front. So again, more with that leather and then the kind of cloth inserts into them. Again, I like the design on it, and it breaks things up with the car. They are fully power adjustable. And then you can see you've got your little thing for the trunk and then gas. You can see the pedal layout just down below. And then these are for your lights, and then the steering wheel is manually adjustable. Stepping into the Corolla, step and height is actually pretty easy to get in and out of the car. But to start it up, you just have to put your foot on the brake, push the push start, and then the gauges will kind of illuminate, say Corolla, but it'll all start up. Now we've got a bunch of controls right here. So we have our controls for the cruise control. This does have adaptive cruise control. This has a bunch of safety tech actually, so you can see you've got your lane departure assistance. This has the forward collision warning and then rear cross traffic alert. And you can see in the little side mirror, you do get the blind spot monitoring as well. So tons of safety tech. And you have your controls for the radio stations. Over here, you've got controls for the center stack. We'll go over that later. More phone controls, and then more controls to the radio, and then like your voice commands. Paddle shifters on the back of the steering wheel if you want to shift the gears yourself, and then your regular stalks for the lights, turn signals, windshield wipers, all of that. Now I've got the gauge cluster setup and looks pretty cool actually. So RPMs over on the left hand side, on the right hand side you've got your fuel gauge and temperature gauge, and then in the middle there you've got the speedo, and you've got this little menu that you can kind of scroll through, so you can see that there's different menus that I can actually go through with that give you different bits of information on the Corolla. So now let's go over the infotainment system. If we pop it into reverse, you'll see a backup camera will pop right up with trajectory lines, and this touchscreen's got some analog buttons on both sides of it, so it's nice that they kind of double up on that, but it's really responsive touch time on the touchscreen, but they keep things pretty simple. So it's got stuff like navigation, Bluetooth, you can do make this screen mirror your phone screen, all that, so pretty standard setup. Now here we've got our controls for the climate controls. It is just a single zone climate here in the Corolla. And then just down below, we've got our controls for the heated seats on both sides. And then we have our whole like shifter setup right here. So stability controls right there. And then you've got your sport mode, which that'll pop up in the gauge cluster. Note, you'll go from blue to red. So now I'm in sport mode. Gets angry when you go into sport mode. And then you can see the little shifters here. There is a manual shift mode. You can do it on the bump stick here or with those paddle shifters that I showed you earlier. And then your parking brake, and then has hold as well. Cup holders right here. Center console with more of that blue stitching. There's not a whole lot of blue stitching in the interior. It's just kind of random parts of it. And then we can see the rest of the center console with some charging stations right there. And while we're talking on storage, let's go to the glove box. That's going to have all your owner's manuals in it. Regular size glove box for the segment, and then there's some nice soft touch and stitching just above it. Now up here we have all of our controls for the lights up here, and then there is a sunroof. So it's just a regular sunroof. It's not a full panoramic unit in the Corolla, but it lets a little bit of extra light into the cabin, but it's just a manual shade to open or close that part of the roof. Now wrapping things up on the interior of the Corolla, it's a really nice interior. It's got some interesting elements like all of the random blue stitching throughout, because some of the stitching is like black, some of it's blue. Interesting taste on that. But with that all being said, let's take the 2020 Corolla out to see how it drives. Let's start off in this red Toyota Corolla, aka Barcelona Red Metallic. Interesting choice of name for the color of this car. So initially setting off in the Corolla, let's talk about visibility. Visibility over the hood, perfect. Can't even see the hood. So it's just, you can see everything that way. Over both of these mirrors, it's pretty easy to see out of them. They've got blind spot monitoring. Over both shoulders is pretty good. I noticed visibility in the rear of this isn't as good as it is in the hatchback, but it's still really solid in terms of this setup for a sedan. Now, in terms of road noise and ride quality, road noise is actually pretty minimal. Just beeped at me because I thought I had a brake, whatever. Road noise is pretty minimal. Ride quality is super, super smooth on this. I feel like I could just drive this every single day very, very comfortably. We're taking a little turn here. Steering is super light. It goes right where you want it to go, but I mean, the steering is very, very light. I mean, you don't even have to put any effort into the steering on this for it to go, but it goes right where you want it to go. Now, we are gonna get a little acceleration here with the Corolla. It's adequate power for the car. I mean, it's not crazy race car fast or anything like that, but it is adequate power for the car. I don't really feel like I need more power for the car. A turbocharged version or something like that for people that do kind of want a sporty hatchback would be cool if Toyota released that. Now, let's sum things up on this Corolla. What I'm going to say is this is a really solid offering, very, very comfortable car just to be in overall. Really comfortable ride quality, like I said, acceleration's adequate. Fuel economy is incredible. It gets really good gas mileage, so you save a ton of money there. Toyotas are always known to be reliable, so you're solid on that aspect. And depending on how you spec these out, I mean, you're low to high, mid to high 20s, just depends on how many options you add to the car. So, I mean, it's a relatively inexpensive car. So if you are in the market for a smaller size car, check out the Corolla Sedan, but also check out the hatchback. I will leave a link in the description of this video to the review I did on the hatchback, so you guys can compare them back and forth, because both of them are awesome cars. And there we have it, everyone, the 2020 Toyota Corolla. Thank you everyone again so much for watching. If you are stopping in for the first time, I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe, comment down below what you thought, and then a big shout out and thank you to Larry H. Miller Toyota here in Murray, Utah, for providing us with the vehicle. If you're on the market for a Toyota, check these guys out. I'll see all of you in that next video.